Welcome back, friendlies. Long time no video. Axel here with a new review for the channel. Today I'm reviewing Metroid Prime Remastered on the Nintendo Switch. Now I know some of you saw the title. What does it mean by honest review? By honest review, I'm just referring to the fact that I don't have the nostalgia for the Metroid games as other reviewers have. Growing up, I dabbled in them, and I do remember renting the Prime games when they came out, but just never gave them a fair shake. So with this new remaster, I figured I would jump back in. The first thing I noticed when jumping into this game was how nice the game looked and the sound. Shooting outside, then transitioning into a corridor, you can definitely tell the sound team put in the work. The music really brought some of the levels alive, like the Magmore Caverns. Coming out of the lake to see the drops of water running down your visor or jumping around the snow-covered drifts was really enjoyable even in handheld mode. Full disclosure, I play most of my Switch games in handheld mode, and this is definitely one of the best looking games that I've played. Aside from the sound and graphics, the other thing I noticed first, honestly, was probably the reason I put the game down when I was younger, was the lock-on targeting system. So one thing that I've never been a fan of is games that automatically target your enemies, especially first-person shooter games. So I could see why I probably quit playing this when I was younger. I tried switching the aim assist settings around, but quickly realized that in this game you kind of need it. Using the lock on is how you dodge attacks, and with how you and your enemies move in the game, it's basically impossible to play it without it. While I'm talking about controls, I feel that is one of the categories that this game is lacking in. It took a while to get used to holding X and then hitting a direction to switch weapons. If you just hit a direction on the D-pad without holding X, it changes your view, so I was constantly switching to thermal view and stuff while I was trying to switch my weapon. Even at the end of the game, I found myself still doing it occasionally. Another issue is with how your character moves. You can't look directly down or up. So if there's an enemy above you or below you, you have to kind of move or jump at an odd angle to try to hit them. I'm sure they had improved the controls from the original, but I feel like they still had some work to do. It's not all bad though. One of my favorite things from this game is the variety of enemies you run into. On top of that, you have to switch to certain guns to kill certain enemies. Later in the game, they do a good job of mixing them up, so you are constantly swapping guns mid-combat, which made the combat fun and interesting. Another positive, I loved the ways you got to use Samus's morph ball form throughout this game. Like, from half pipes to underwater tunnels to magnetic puzzles, I really enjoyed switching to the ball to find hidden paths within the levels. They even had some bosses that encourage you to switch to morph ball in the fight to avoid attacks. On another note, though, I did not enjoy the map in this game. It was hard trying to find where I needed to go to get where I needed to be. Towards the end of the game, I felt like I had a better understanding of how it worked, but I spent a lot of time getting lost and having to backtrack to take another route. I have a newfound respect for the Metroid games. Recently I went through Dread and Fusion. While I feel those games were more direct with their storytelling, Metroid Prime's was more about scanning logs to get the story. In Prime, Samus goes to a planet called Talon 4 to investigate a distress beacon. She finds a pirate ship, and after searching the ship, you run into Meta Ridley. The ship explodes, and Samus follows Ridley to land on the planet. And that's basically where the storytelling stops, because after that you go around scanning pirate logs. I do like that you're scanning enemies, plants, computers, ancient writing, etc., because I feel like that gives you that extra feeling of being alone on a strange planet. However, that's part of my biggest issue I had playing through this game. So when you are exploring the planet, you find a shrine, and that has 12 artifacts that you collect. Now, at first I was like, okay, that's cool. Most games have things you can collect. But in Prime, in order to beat the game, you have to collect all 12. So while you're playing the game, occasionally you'll get a hint that'll pop up to basically tell you where you should be going. This usually leads to a new suit ability or boss to keep you progressing through the map. But towards the end of the game, it just stops and says to go further, you have to get the rest of the artifacts. At this point, I still needed to get 5 artifacts with no idea where they were. Now, if you look at the artifacts, it gives you clues but doesn't tell you where to go. At this point, I was already tired of all the backtracking I was doing, mainly due to getting lost while trying to figure out the map. So here I am like 13 hours into this game, and I'm told I have to collect 5 more artifacts that are God knows where on the map before I can progress to the end of the game. So I decided to use a guide to find the rest of these artifacts, which I never like to have to resort to. It would be one thing if these artifacts maybe had some cool new enemy I had to defeat to get them, or a puzzle, but instead it was like, shoot this wall, there it is. Or kill these enemies I've fought dozens of times, and it'll appear. With that said, I don't want to sound like this is a bad game, because it's not. I'd say the first 70% of this game was great, and I really enjoyed my time with it. But the last chunk of the game where I was backtracking, I can say I was ready to just get it over with. All in all, the Metroid Prime Remastered, even with its setbacks, is a great experience, and one of the best games to come to the Nintendo Switch.